There's public defenders in between the health department stuff. I'm gonna move all the health department together, then we'll do public defender. Yeah. There's one public defender in between all the health, maybe all the health first, and then other ones get back and forth. Good? Alright. Call the Vermilion County Council meeting to order for March 2023. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening. All right, we'll start with roll call. Mr. Costello.
Here.
Mr. Somerville.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
Mrs. James, I'm present. Mr. Bose.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
And Mr. Weir is not able to make it this evening. All right. The first item on our agenda is approval of minutes. We have our minutes from February 13th, 2023. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or corrections?
Under roll call, the attorney, I think his name is backwards. Is it Scott Craig?
Yes. We can.
And then approval of minutes, it was January 9th, 2022. Shouldn't that be 23?
Yes. Good eyes. Were there any other items? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Brown, a second from Mr. Somerville to approve the February 13th, 2023 minutes as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state no. All right, minutes are approved. The next item is transfer of funds. We do not have any this evening. So we will move along to additional appropriations. The first additional appropriation in your packet is for the Vermilion County Economic Development. They're asking that we table this to April, so if I have a motion to table.
I'll make a motion.
One second. Is there a second to table the motion?
Sure.
Right. Table. He'll do. Mr. Bose gets that. All right. I have a motion to table the additional appropriation by Mr. Brown, a second from Mr. Bose. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. All right. It is tabled to April. The next additional appropriation is from the Health Department. They received money from the state for taking a survey. They are asking for the $1,000 to be placed into their operating expense account. And I did see Ms. Paula Market and Wendy Farley here. If we have questions for any of the Health Department items.
What was the survey about?
The survey that we did was a budget survey.
Right. Any other questions? They have several appropriations, but we will do each separately, so we'll need a motion and a second for each one.
Maybe I'm the only one here that's confused, but what is a budget survey?
I'm assuming you answered questions and then
we have to account for all of our budgets within the health department. We have to send that to the state. And last year, they just gave every health department in the whole state, if you did the budget, you received $1,000.
So it's like a reward for participating.
It's the health, it's all of it, and they asked questions about the vaccines, all that had to be sent in. So they give every health department that finish that $1,000 per year.
Was it lengthy for
It was,
someone to spend the time to do that?
yes.
I'll make a motion to accept it. It seems pretty straightforward. I'm not sure why the state does such things, but it's not up to me, so.
Okay. I have a motion for Mr. Costello. Is there a second?
I get second.
Okay. All right. I have a motion to approve the $1,000 into operating expenses from, motion by Mr. Costello, a second from Mr. Brown. Any other further questions?
Where does the money go to? It goes into your budget? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just asking to put it into the operating expense line item.
Expense here.
so you guys are being paid to do a job, and then they're paying you a second time to do the job. Is that right?
I just take it as an incentive to have it completed by a certain date. I mean, this is the first year they've done it, so it was offered to us, we did it.
Now, it may also reduce the need for an additional appropriation out of the general fund at some point. It's not coming out of the general fund.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
I said 92 counties, $92,000 out of the state's budget somehow.
We did have extra, he said.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Okay.
I'll have my motion stand.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Costello, a second from Mr. Brown, to appropriate the $1,000 into their operating expense. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state no. All right. Appropriations approved. All right, the next appropriation is also for the Health Department, and is insurance reimbursement funds from the Indiana Department of Health for vaccines. They are asking to put $73,075.17 into operating expenses and $59,122.06 into training and conferences. Are these for all the vaccines you offer for the Health Department?
That was for the COVID reimbursement.
Okay.
Insurance.
Insurance covered part of them? Okay.
How does that work? I'm sure you've probably explained this before. I don't know if I maybe was here or wasn't here, but as far as the total amount of money, $132,000, is that money that was spent by the health department?
No, when
Or
they.
how does that work?
When patients came in to get their vaccines, we took their insurance cards, entered that in, and the state billed the insurance for administration fee. So that's part, we got a portion of the administration fee, and I assume the state got the rest.
Well, I think they bill the insurance too.
Right.
But if you had insurance, you know, the vaccine is free if you don't have insurance, but if you do, they file the insurance and get the money from the insurance company, you get the cost of the vaccine plus the $15 administration fee. So they billed it just like you would bill it at a doctor's office. All we had to do was put the information into the system, and the state took care of all the billing.
And the state keeps a portion of the billing, or just some, I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yes.
So you're getting money twice again, right? I mean, you're getting the grant money, and then you're getting the insurance money for the same thing.
This is the insurance money that they gave us. I don't feel like we're getting it twice. I feel like this is,
I mean, we did have to, you know, get the vaccine.
But you got grant money to give the vaccines.
but this is a reimbursement.
I understand that.
That they gave, that they offered us for doing the vaccine. I mean, our staff spent many hours
But
during
what-
COVID, during the
I
vaccine.
mean, when we gave the vaccine, we had no idea that they were gonna do this.
Was this a state grant or a federal grant to begin with, all this COVID money? Where's it coming from, a state grant or federal?
State.
So why isn't this money going back to the state?
Have to ask them. This is money that they allowed us to put, I mean, they're giving it to us, so.
Well, we're gonna run out of money one of these days. The whole country, I mean, not just us. We gotta change the way we think. My opinion. I don't,
What did the grant cover? The grant covers the cost of the medicine?
Yeah.
I mean, did Vermain County, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did Vermain County Health Department had to purchase the vaccine?
No.
So you received the product straight from the manufacturer or something like that?
Right. We just had to hire staff. If there was any supplies or any advertisement, we used it. The grants, both testing and vaccines would cover that. We're still giving vaccines.
Right, yeah. The grant covered, so when you started the process, there was a grant available and you applied for the grant?
Yeah,
And the
it was
grant
all-
covered portions of,
It started out, they gave us 40,000 to start out.
Mhm.
Doing COVID.
which was funded by the grant?
and what is the total today?
And they just add to it. Well, the total for the grant and the vaccine, we still have $73,000.
No, I mean, how much has been spent so far
Yeah,
for COVID?
yeah.
I don't
But
have,
the
I don't
government
have
said it's
exact
free.
figures, I don't wanna give you a
But they
figure
do
if I
it.
don't have that exact one, but I can get that for you.
So the state, and I'm just learning here,
Yeah,
not
that's
yay
fine.
or nay here, I'm just going through the steps here. So the state provided a grant to the health departments in Indiana to begin the process of
Correct,
administering this. And at some point, maybe it didn't cover all of it?
right, and we were required to follow, we had to have so many hours, we had to have extra clinics.
Yeah. So the state, in turn, they charged insurance companies when they could to insurance people who had it and people whose insurance would cover it. Because some insurances said they'd cover it.
Right,
Most of them did. I probably mandated to cover it at some point. I don't know.
And also provide it to those who
Yeah.
didn't have insurance for free.
So the state may have said, so we gave out grants to get the ball rolling, and then in turn we charged insurance companies, and the insurance companies paid us, and that may have covered like a grant, or covered their money. Maybe they got their money back or whatever from whatever they got it from, and then had extra, and then maybe that's what this is. I don't know. I have never seen the numbers. But
the insurance money is directly, I mean, we have, that's the amount that they were paid out, we didn't get.
yeah, I mean, I really don't know what it costs to provide all this. I'm just saying that maybe the state looks at it like, they had tax money available to form grants, and then they charge the insurance companies, and maybe that didn't even cover, maybe this doesn't even cover all that. I don't know whether it
Right.
did. I don't think it's, it's any sort of, it's just I guess, a distribution of insurance funds to people that had to do the work. That's the way I look at it. But anybody else have a...
Well, that's what, we're not confusing a grant with an insurance reimbursement, are we?
Well,
I'm not.
this is the insurance reimbursement. The grants are next, which,
Yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
this as a grant refund, it was an insurance company refund.
Yeah, this wasn't actually a grant. It
Well, he mentioned...
I'm just wondering why it's
Councilman
going
here
to
mentioned-
the health department, the insurance reimbursement. That's all I'm wondering. It ain't like our health department paid for all this. It's the grant. So I don't understand why this isn't going back to the state. All this insurance money from everybody.
Not sure.
Ashley, can you explain that to me?
no. But assuming that it doesn't have to be used for vaccines, we can put it into other expenses, so it's more like a gift now. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know. It's above
Well, that's kind of what I was
my
getting at,
expertise
was
on
I was
that.
just trying
Yeah,
to
if we
follow
took
the
it in,
steps here. and-
it could be used
And
So,
less money we give in
yeah,
the future.
they're asking for it to go into operating
And save
expenses and
taxpayers money.
training and
if we treat it
conferences.
that way.
It could also be used for future COVID vaccines, right?
Uh,
Theoretically, I suppose,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
could be
another
used for-
subject coming up, so.
The state required us to put this money into the health department fund. It could not go back into COVID pay. There was a
Okay.
letter sent out, it was specifically to go to the 1159.
Okay.
They
And that-
required us to.
Okay.
Alright. Is there a motion to accept this for the insurance reimbursement then?
Yeah, let's accept this, yeah.
Okay,
Motion.
alright. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion from Mr. Somerville, a second from Mr. Brown, for the additional appropriation of $132,197.23. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Alright. Appropriations approved. Alright, the next health department one is the emergency preparedness grant. And it's to set up the grant for the last half of the grant period ending in June 30th, 2023. There are multiple line items for a total of $24,869.67.
Sorry.
This one is not the COVID ones, correct?
No, this is preparedness.
Okay, so this is just the,
This goes to, pay part of the salary for, Lori Swinford, our health educator and emergency preparedness person.
are there any questions for this one? Is there a motion?
This is money that just, we're getting and saving, well, we're not, taxpayers pay for everything, but we're getting it. and-
It's one they've had for many years.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Alright, so I have a motion for Mr. Brown, a second for Mr. Costello, for the additional appropriation of $24,869.67 into the emergency preparedness grant. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
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 All those opposed state no. Alright, appropriation is approved. The next additional appropriation is also for the health department. It is for the COVID-19 testing grant. It is to set up the funds for that grant of $79,913.16. Multiple line items including the public health nurse, payroll taxes, operating expenses, swabs, and his assistant nurse.
I can't even believe we're still messing with this stuff. Isn't the pandemic over with?
This is the remainder of the money. There won't be any more money put into testing. This is what we have left. The only purpose for this money is for testing, so we're just going to continue to use it to buy home test kits and hand them out to the community.
That don't work. They're not very accurate, in my understanding.
And then you got to be, for the home test, you have to be more into, several days into than the test you do at the hospital. So yeah, your viral count has to be higher for the home test.
My doctor won't even use the test because they said they don't work. So what do you say about that? I mean,
Well, I have a lot of people that call me for medicine that are positive, so.
what's that again?
I have a lot of people call my office to ask for medication that tested at home and they're positive, so they do work sometimes.
Were they sick?
Yeah, they're sick with COVID. I'm a doctor, they call my office, they say, I tested at home and I'm positive, can you call me in medicine?
Well, I don't don't know about everybody else, but there's no way in the world I'm gonna approve any more money for COVID. I don't care where it comes from. So, that's my opinion on that.
I kind of agree. I think, you know, it's kind of not an issue as so much anymore.
No,
but,
we're done with it.
People I know that got, you know, the shots, they're not going. Not that, I'm not speaking for everybody, but.
But this is the money that you have available for those people without insurance, that it will cover it.
It's not new money.
Is not new money?
It's part of that grant, right? It's the remainder of that grant money?
It's the remainder of the testing grant. We have a testing grant and we have a vaccine grant.
Oh, well,
So-
I'm a no on both of them, but
So-
it's,
Is this the money that was left over from last year then? We just need to reappropriate into this year? Okay, so this is not, this is the grant that we approved last year for them to receive in. They just haven't spent it all. And so they're asking to put it back on their line items because those revert at the beginning of the year.
Just
well, I'll
leftover.
just approve it.
Yes, it's left over.
Leftover money from last year?
Correct.
And no new money?
Correct.
I just approved what was approved last time. I didn't approve any future money.
Well,
Well, they-
this is leftover.
This is their leftover. Like, they didn't spend
No new
all of their
money.
money, so
That's what
they're
they're
carrying it
saying.
into a new fiscal year.
Send it back where it came from.
So. Alright.
It's not just us. Everybody in this whole country is gonna have to change their mindset. We're gonna be broke.
This is the testing. Okay. Is there any motion for this appropriation? Since we've already received the grant money in a prior year, without the appropriation, do you know how that would work? What would happen with that? Is there, I mean, can you send it back? 'Cause it, I mean, this was a prior grant from a prior year.
The other thing I think I've asked before, if we have to spend the money, why do we keep being asked to approve it?
'Cause that's based
It
on.
has to be appropriated. It's not actually through your budget process, so we don't know until the end of the year what we're gonna have left.
Well, again, I say COVID's over with. I'm not gonna. Sorry.
Do you have active cases now?
Yes, we do.
Got a notice today that the elementary school has a lot of kids with COVID in it right now, so I don't know if it's over or not, but you know, as far as what it does to people and what the solution is, I don't know what that is at this point. I'm definitely not a doctor, so.
Do you still have people coming in to get tested?
No, we do the home test.
Oh, you do they give the home test? Okay. Is there a charge for the home test?
It's free.
Okay. Because I know they, at one time they said like insurance should cover it, but I've also heard that insurances are not covering the test, so that is an expense.
We have several at the office that are free, and we do have several people that come in and get them. We supply them to, if the schools need them, the sheriff's department's got them. I mean, we do supply them as they're needed.
There's other resources to get them though, right?
Not for free, I don't believe.
Well, they advertise on TV all the time.
Yeah, but I was at,
8 free tests.
I was at the pharmacy and someone in front of me had asked and their insurance would not cover them. So it's very particular of who actually gets the, they advertise it as free, but they're not. And then I know the government used to have a site where you could ask on a website for them to send them to you, and they've discontinued that as well. So I think that right now the only option really you have is to buy them. So, and I think, I don't know, different brands, but I know when I've seen them in the past, they were probably $20 at least for just a 2-pack. So, I mean, some people, I'm sure that is an expense that they don't want to afford.
Well, I can get why they did this in the beginning. I mean, all the resources possible to get everybody that wanted vaccinated, vaccinated. But like I say, it's over with. We need to move on.
But they didn't give us more money.
We don't need any more money. They can go
No,
to
we
the,
don't need more money, and they didn't give us any more. This is just money that we're still using, the money that they gave us in the first place.
well, then why are we being asked this, to approve this?
Because we have to, so that's.
It's just the way the county government accounts roll over. Like we had to put it back in there, even if not just it's like in the savings account and doesn't get appropriated and probably will never get spent.
It doesn't go through the normal budget process in September.
Mhm.
It's different. This is the grant process of budgeting.
And since it has to be spent for,
Budget.
for certain specific areas, it will probably just get reconciled on the bank account. Because it's already been approved once.
So is this the grant, the same amount of money from last year, it's just left over?
Leftover.
Correct. It's just whatever they didn't spend last year, they need to bring it to this year to spend it.
And then next year it'll probably be gone?
Once it's
possibly.
gone, it's gone.
This is the end of it.
Well, I think
What was the
you're
total?
right about,
She
the
didn't
kits
know
are
the total.
$20, cause I bought a few.
Mhm.
You know, some people, that's a lot, they can go to the health department and get it for free.
I mean, they come in and they'll get 10 at one
Do they-
time because they want to test now and maybe in 5 days they'll test again. Some of them have to do it for work.
Multiple family members, or.
Yeah. And, you know, it definitely seems like we're on the tail end of COVID, but it's not over. I mean, I just buried my father over it, so.
It's not over, but you can go to the doctor or you can go to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
We don't need our health department doing this anymore.
Well, what else does the health department test for besides COVID?
Oh, school vaccines. and-
We do the vaccines for all the kids, all the school vaccines are done. If they don't have insurance, they come in and we can do the vaccines. We do adult vaccines, we do flu vaccines. We don't do any testing per se, but we are gonna start doing lead testing because of a state statute change, and every child under that certain age has to be tested for lead.
Yeah,
So that's something that's gonna have to be, we're gonna have to be doing as well.
Yeah, so all those things you just mentioned, I mean, you know, COVID will never be over.
No.
Flu's never gonna be over, so if they're still testing, they still have issues and people still get sick over it and they're still trying to help with it, I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's not necessarily that I agree or disagree with the process that's occurred in the government with COVID-19 and its handling for 2 years. That's a whole nother issue. This is something that they're doing. I mean, this is a grant they received to perform certain functions, and it's no additional money other than adding it to the budget with this appropriation as a.
But 3 years later, it's no longer necessary.
Well, they just said they're still testing people and people are still getting these
Oh,
products.
small numbers, sure, but.
Well, like maybe the flu or small numbers too. I don't know. I
And
don't want
the
either
test,
one of them.
the test you have, they don't have an expiration date and stuff, or just keep getting new ones
They
in?
do have, and some of them, the expiration date has been extended for some of them.
Okay.
And, then we will, when ours expire or we run out, then we can order more from the state.
You can
Mm-hmm.
with this money?
You know, they just give it to us.
No, just, you just,
Right now, they're giving it to us, we don't know in the future what will.
right, but you ask, you get them, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, one final time, is there a motion for this appropriation?
I will make a motion to approve since it's already been basically approved prior. It's nothing new.
Okay.
So that would be my motion.
Is there a second?
I will second because it's leftover money,
All
and
right.
it's not new money.
I have a motion from Mr. Costello, second from Mr. Brown, to approve the $79,913.16 from a prior grant back into their budget for this year. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state no.
No.
Alright, appropriations approved. And this is the exact same thing on your last appropriation. It is for the vaccine part of it. Instead of the first one was the testing, this is the vaccine. It is split into multiple line items for a total of $73,319.64. Again, same kind of situation here where this is leftover previously approved money. They're reappropriating it into for 2023.
So this is leftover money?
Correct. Yep.
So the previous was testing materials.
And this is the vaccine.
This is
For the actual
vaccination
vaccine.
materials.
This is grant money we use to pay the nurses who run, work in the clinics. We hire extra nurses to work the clinics. We're required to have a clinic every Thursday and every second Saturday. That's a requirement of the grant. So we do have to pay those people, and anything else, supplies for anything that we need, and actually use some money for regular vaccines.
Yes. So they've allowed us to do routine vaccines as well during this, with this money.
Nice. Okay. So since this is the prior approval, we have agreed to offer those clinics for this. And so if we do not approve this amount, we would be paying for those expenses on our own, since we've already agreed to do it. Okay.
And
Where's
that's
that now?
adults and children as well.
So when we originally accepted the grant, it covers, they go, their year end ends in June. So, but the county's fiscal year ends in December. So that's why they have to come back and reappropriate it into their account. So they have this money to use through June, where they've already agreed on the grant to have these clinics. So this is the remaining of the funding left over from that grant from last year to finish out their calendar year to the end of June.
Which will cover some school vaccines as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
And
we can use this money, they've allowed us to use this money more than just COVID.
Yes.
It's routine vaccines, it was flu vaccines, all of them.
Initially, it was only for COVID, but they've expanded it to allow us to use regular other vaccinations for adults and children.
Like required vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
That work. School vaccinations work, but that's the thing, you know, if these things worked, I'd have a total different opinion, but it's just a total waste of money. They don't work at all.
They don't.
No, they don't. I mean, how many you need? 10, 12 shots before you can say they work, or, I mean,
Look at the death totals.
98%.
Before and after the vaccine.
Well, that's because this started before then, and of course there's more people dying up front.
okay, well,
There's still people dying that's getting the vaccine. Is that true or false?
I don't really know the statistics on any of it, but right now we have the appropriation in front of us that I'm sure we could debate some of that for quite a while. So,
Well,
is there a motion to approve the additional appropriation for their vaccine grant?
If this is leftover money.
It is.
I'll agree.
Okay.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second with the leftover money.
All right, there's a motion for Mr. Bose, a second for Mr. Brown to approve the leftover grant money to be reappropriated into 2023 for the amount of $73,319.64. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no.
no.
All right, appropriations approved. All right, and that is the end of the health department. We have one more additional appropriation this evening. It is from the Public Defender Board. They are asking for $20,000 for their non-contractual attorney fees. These are fees that are being carried over from cases previous to the formation of the West Central Indiana Public Defender's Office, which is the 3 counties of Us, Park, and Fountain. So, and I believe they are here this evening if you have questions. So. The formation of the new alliance started in October?
October 1st.
Okay, so these are cases from prior to then?
Yes.
That we're still in the process of
We're still
clearing
getting
out?
bills, so.
Okay. All right.
And this money's in their fund, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the supplemental fund. When we get reimbursements back from cases, it's put back into this fund, so it's not actually a general fund account. Does anyone have other questions?
We get reimbursement, not, what's the percentage, or is it all, or?
I believe this money is from public defender fees,
Okay.
maybe some fines and court costs, but it's definitely the public defender fees that are court ordered.
Are you asking if we'll get reimbursed on part of this?
Yes.
Okay.
So how much?
Will we get reimbursement
do.
on these cases if they qualify?
Yes.
Okay.
They're just bills that Vermilion County incurred prior to October 1st. They're still public defender cases, and
We have to.
we still will seek reimbursement.
Okay.
And we have to pay it.
Yes.
So I will make a motion.
Put a motion? Okay.
I'll second that one.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Brown, a second from Mr. Somerville to approve the $20,000 into non-contractual attorney fees. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. All right, appropriation approved. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Beckman. All right, that is the end of our additional appropriations this evening. Moving on to new business, our first item is Sheriff Holtkamp is here. He would like to speak with us about cleaning service for the jail.
In January, I come talk to you about a part-time secretary job or position we had that we weren't using the money for. We took half of that money and used it to pay our sex offender registration officer. One of the employees come to me about 3 weeks ago and asked me who's going to clean the new part of the building. I'm like, I didn't even think of that. So I would like to take the other half of that money, the $12,850, to put towards paying a cleaning service.
Okay. Did we have anything set up in the past for cleaning service of the office area?
Years ago, we did. In the last 6, 7, 8 years, it's just been whoever got tired of looking at the filth would finally kind of. We have such a larger area now that needs to be attended to.
You don't see a need for the secretary anytime
No,
in the near future?
no, I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
Why don't you have the inmates do the cleaning?
Well, we don't want them in the office part. They do the back part, the jail part. They do all the cleaning back there, but not up in the administration.
You don't have any you can trust doing that kind of stuff?
No, we don't want them up there.
Probably weapons and everything else laying around.
Yeah.
Man, that would
There's
be good.
paperwork and all kinds of stuff up there, yeah.
Okay.
We can't formally approve it this evening.
Okay.
It would need to be a transfer. We need to take it out of the secretary account and place it into, do we have an item for that? I probably a new account number. Brenda can get you an account number for
Okay.
that. So it would be a transfer, or actually, no, it'd be an additional, because it's probably going from our employee to a non-employee.
Contractual service or something.
I've had one company come in and give me a quote, but I don't know if I'll be able to afford them, so I'm gonna kind of shop around a little bit.
Okay.
Do you think this will cover for how long?
I'm gonna try to make it cover for the year, but the one quote I got, the company that I was wanting is a little high. I don't know if I can afford it. I didn't want to ask for any more money, so I was gonna make this work.
Okay. It'll be a transfer, but it will have to come up for a vote because
Okay.
it will be different. Like where your money's at now, it's paying like an employee
Sure.
of the county, and where you wouldn't be paying an employee of the county to do it. So it changes series of the accounts. So it'll have to
Okay.
come up for approval. which you could submit that request for the April
For
meeting.
next month, okay.
So, anybody have questions?
What if the future shows that they do need a secretary? Would you have to retract all this, or?
That's what we kind of talked about in the past before, is that, this was contingent upon not needing that secretary money, so it would,
I don't feel like we're gonna need, we've gone this long without it.
and everything works okay?
Mary's doing a great job on her own, yeah.
Okay.
The only other thing I had real quick is I sent some of you an email. I don't think I have all your emails. At some point, we're gonna have to address our body cam issue. We filled out some grants. I may have to come ask for some money. But there's a demo at the jail at 11 o'clock Thursday, if any of you would like to attend, come look at it.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I have.
Thursday at 11, if anyone can make it.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask
Thanks,
one
man.
other question, Sheriff?
Yes.
How's the deputy that was injured in the shooting? Is he all right?
He's doing good. He was in the office this morning getting some paperwork. He's feeling good. He's still, obviously still off work, and hopefully be back to work fairly soon.
Okay.
Glad to hear he's
Thank you.
doing well.
Good.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
All right. Our other item of new business this evening is the APC BZA. Mr. Scott Noggle, I believe, is here for that.
I'm Scott Noble, I'm representing the APC tonight. I have a handout for all of you. What we're here to propose is an annual salary for our executive director position. And the handout I have given you is just a brief bullet point of some of the duties that our executive director position has, and 2 categories that we feel should be underneath the executive director, and the salary for each one of those to the side. I'll give you all a minute to look at them, and we can do what you want. We would like to list this as a full-time position, and we would like to get somebody that has knowledge and experience, as number 1 says, in Indiana codes, ordinance, and zoning maps. We just did our area comprehensive plan last year, updated it. It was 22 years old, very bad shape. Now that we have updated that, our zoning ordinance and our maps do not fit our comprehensive plan. We've had 2 groups come in already and talk to us about it, and they said, you guys have a lot of trouble. This is something that us as a group does not have the intelligence to do, or the know-how, anything. We have to hire somebody that is in municipal law probably to make sure this is right, so we don't have a lawsuit come back on the county. Our zoning maps are gonna have to be updated. It's a very big process. We've had, like I said, 2 people come in. They're saying anywhere from 12 to 18 months to do this. It's not cheap. We're probably looking at least $45,000.
So is that something that the director is going to have to be responsible for
The
doing
director
themselves?
is the one
Or do
that
we
will-
pay someone to do those?
Someone will do that. Our director is the one that will find the company to do it. We'll give the company all the information, make them available to the maps, everything we have. They will be the point person, the liaison, whatever you want to call it, between the company and us. They will set up the meetings, town halls, between the companies, the public, and us.
So they'll kind of be like the middleman, kind of in between?
The middleman,
Is
yes,
that-
that's a good way to put it. Point person, middleman, whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
They'll attend 24 meetings. We have a meeting on the 2nd Thursday of every month, 12 for the area plan, 12 for the BZA. They have all our documents. The county comprehensive plan, as I mentioned, we just redid that. They'll be responsible for public hearings, town halls, and notifications for the newspaper and for the public for this. They're responsible for zoning violations. Once we get our zoning ordinance up and going again, they go out and they do inspections for people that have been turned in for junk cars, litter, trash in their yards. They go out, investigate, take pictures, bring that back to the team. And then we go through our attorney, and if they get a letter, if it doesn't get started cleaned up in 30 days, then we have to move on. The sheriff sends them a notice, and then it goes to the courts. We put a fine on it. They're involved in each step of this process. They will submit a yearly plan. Last year, our plan consisted of redoing a solar and wind ordinance, and also our update for our comprehensive plan, which took most of our year. This year, we was hoping to do our update on our zoning ordinance and maps. And if we don't have an executive director, it won't happen.
So it lists the building permit administrator salary. Is that something that, because that was what I thought we had previously talked about splitting out from?
Yes, we had talked about that, but it's not a good idea. Because what I'm saying, the building inspector, yes, that goes separate. That will
Okay.
go to commissioners. But the executive director needs to keep writing the building permits. Because, good example, we have a house in Eugene that was just built. Half of the land is in the floodplain area, half of the area is not. If you had somebody just off the street writing building permits that didn't know that, they give them a building permit, they build in that floodplain, they could come back and sue us saying, well, they wrote me a building permit and didn't tell me I was in a floodplain. I can't get insurance. So we need somebody that is knowledgeable in the zoning, knows setbacks, knows codes, to be writing the building permits.
So why should we, I guess, not put all the building permits? Like why would we split it out then if it is?
Because the inspector is a county position. That is a county hire, and none of us have that knowledge to supervise a county employee.
Is there a potential though to have like a break in communication since you have two people then doing it versus just one person handling it? Because you're going to have your APC person doing it in zoning, but then they're going to have to communicate with their, like, versus that one person being in control of all of it.
Well, I think the person with the knowledge needs to be the one that's writing the permits to keep us out of trouble. Once that permit is written, then they can contact whoever the commissioners, they're in charge of the building inspector. They can contact the commissioners and the building inspector, tell them the location where that permit has been written for. Once they do their inspections, they would bring the completed permit back to the executive director to keep on file in case anybody ever wanted to do a building update or anything. We would have all this on file already, not have to go clear back into the zoning maps and everything.
So-
We pulled out handy and move on.
So
Instead
the
of-
county inspector would just do the physical actual appearance of going out to monitor it, and then all the paperwork is done in the courthouse.
All the paperwork would stay in the courthouse, in-house with the executive director. They would keep all the records. That way the county commissioners would have access to them, and if they wanted to put a deck on or something else, she could pull that building permit out, or he or whoever could pull that building permit out, look at it and say, oh yeah, here's what I need to do. They have all the records right there handy instead of going back and forth, back and forth. It would just simplify the process.
And if you don't mind, I'll jump in real quick. If anybody happened to catch the news today on Terre Haute, there was over 5,000 permits written for building permits that was in a flood zone that is not able to happen. So if you don't have people on the same board knowing where your flood zones is, where your wetlands are, if you're gonna hand out permits, permit, there was over 5,000 issued by the county.
Right.
That's what we're trying to stay away from.
And we
Can I
just,
add something too? The person who's issuing the building permits in our example here is the expert on the zoning. So if somebody comes to them with a request for a building permit, and in that zone where they want to build, it doesn't fit, within those zoning ordinances, there are certain things that can be approved with a special exception, and it's stated in the ordinance that these kind of things can be approved with a special exception. There are other things that can be approved with a variance. So that executive director who's handling those building permits needs to know does this fit just clean and simple? Does it need a special exception? Does it need a variance? And then they prepare all that documentation and bring it to the APC. The APC discusses it. By the way, I'm on the APC. And then it goes, if the APC decides to move it forward, they send it to the BZA with either a favorable or unfavorable recommendation. And then the BZA goes through findings of facts and either approves or disapproves that. And this executive director handles all of that flow of information and material. So
the previous position was all of the things you've listed here, plus the actual physical inspections out in, like, for the property.
Correct.
Which was like the 40-hour per week job. So do you
Mhm.
feel like there's enough job duties then just without the building inspections to keep it as a full-time position? Because, I mean, basically now we're adding a full-time plus a part-time.
Yes.
So, and then my other question would be, like, when I add up the 38,000, the 3,000, and the 1,500.
42.5.
Yes.
And that comes, if you break, okay, it's 42.5, and I know that sounds like a big number. When I first had that number thrown at me, I thought, oh my gosh, we can't afford that. But if you break that down, that's $20 an hour job. If you go a 40-hour week, the knowledge, I mean, the knowledge that this person has to have
So-
is what we're looking for. It'll make, I mean, we've got people right now calling in for things that we're having to put on hold because some of the things we can't answer.
I get, from the budget standpoint, we appropriated $42,700 for all of it. Like the
Mhm.
building inspector, all aspects of the building inspector, plus the APC, BZA, floodplain.
Correct.
So that leaves us $200 in the budget to find someone to go out and do physical inspections for the year.
Well, our next thing is, our budget that we've looked at now at the last meeting, we don't think that budget's gonna work for us at all.
Well,
I mean, I know that's the budget you've set.
and that's
but
what your
it's
representative
something-
brought us back at budget hearing.
Correct. And we're seeing now that we don't see this happening. I mean, money has been moved and consolidated. I mean,
Yes, but no, it's still coming from the general fund.
Okay,
It's just not, yeah, we went over that.
I mean, I don't want to get into a war of words, you know, we've had the talk, we know there's money out there, what fund it's in, or what it's for exactly hasn't been appropriated. Correct?
Well, it's been appropriated, but since they're wanting to split out the actual physical building permit person from the rest of the position, we
Mhm.
will need to separate a budget out for hiring someone to do the physical inspections. So they will have a budget.
Which would
Mhm.
come from the commissioners.
What, yeah, that's part of the funds that came from the general fund, which part of APC is funded by the fees they collect, but they only generate around $12,000 of revenue a year. So that's why there's a fund for that, to spend the $12,000, and then all the remaining expenses on top have to come out of the general fund. Well, since we had it all as one person doing one job, that's where we took the two general fund pieces and put them together, so that way there was one line item for postage, one line item for travel, because it was never being proportioned out on a day-to-day basis, so, because it was
Right.
one job.
The way it was proportioned in the past has made a mess of the records.
Yes, that is a very accurate statement.
How else can you say it?
That's-
Yeah.
There's no way to really go
I
back
mean,
and divide.
When I've looked at the
expenses.
numbers, I get confused because we took and paid all out of one fund and then started using out of another fund, where it should have been, I
Right.
agree, it should have been separated. APC from building inspection, totally from the beginning and all the way through. I agree with that.
So we have the funds we have appropriated, they just need to be transferred into different departments now, based on where we think they need to go, which is gonna be,
Correct. And this is
A
a
good
sooner the
guess.
better, because like I said, we have people coming, you know, wanting things.
Yeah, he's done.
And summer's coming, people are gonna want building permits.
Yeah, he's
So
done.
this is one person though, these three are one
mhm.
person's responsibilities, and that's the breakdown of the
Yeah.
total salary for that person.
Yeah, this
Right.
is just
Yeah.
highlights, main things they will do,
Right.
not a total job description.
Oh, I understand
We will
that.
have a total job description if you wanna see that after we decide what duties are gonna fall under this category.
but, I mean, this salary that leaves the $200 gap to hire someone to do like physical inspections, which I don't know what those would cost. Do you have any idea what it costs to hire someone to go out per inspection?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Now,
How-
that's
No,
something the
I can't
commissioners will
put a
bring to
dollar
us
amount.
and request to hire a person for that, is that
Yeah.
right?
Which, they,
One thing I'd heard about is contract somebody to do it, pay them so much in inspection. Now, whether that's a route they wanna take or not, I don't know.
And that all depends if you get 5, 10, or 50.
Yeah.
Right.
And
You can't put a number on
The-
that.
the thing about-
How many people's gonna apply for a permit?
I guess when I look at it, it can go, our complete person who was doing it all was at 42.7. So is this position with that taken out of it, is that still worth the 42.5? You know,
What's
like,
other counties paying?
Park County doesn't
Well,
even do building inspections.
If you look, if you
That's what I've been told.
Google a lot of different counties, you'll find out that we're somewhere in the ballpark.
Okay.
You're in low 40s to 50s. If you try to we talked about trying to get an intern right out of college, somebody new, you know, we think, okay, they might come a little cheaper, but they're starting out around the 50s. So, you know, we don't feel this is ridiculous. Is it a lot of money? Yes.
Well,
But
I mean-
like I said, if you break it down, you're looking at a $20 an hour job.
Yeah, and I don't know, but perhaps the previous inspections that were being done or not done, as some people would maybe say. I don't know what the quality of work on those were, so maybe the portion of this 42.7 that went toward building inspections physically was $200 a year worth of work. I don't know, but it wasn't getting done maybe, I don't know.
I think don't quote me on this, but I think last year we had 87 permits. You know, okay, not all of them were houses. Some was a back deck, some was a pool. You know, one-time inspections. A house should be at least
Can you
four-time
have the records
inspection.
for all the inspections?
There's probably a breakdown of it, but I don't know. I don't have that number right off the top of my head, but I know from seeing the building permits that were issued, some of them were pools, back decks, you know, things you could go one time, look at, and you're done.
In previous years, we had appropriated around $9,000 for building inspector.
Yes, $9,050 was the budget last year for it.
So, I mean, and if there's 87, I would highly doubt it costs less than $100 to pay someone to go out and inspect something. So that'd be $8,700, which would probably be close to the 9 we had it at. The question, if we bump this salary up, then you're going to either have to lose money in another category to make up for it with the building inspections, or we have to have an additional appropriation, which, I'll be honest, her salary was already on the high end. Like, we had already kind of figured it because it was the multiple aspects of that job with the salary study. We had already predominantly given her the high end of the benefit of the doubt of being more of like the director part versus the floodplain and the building permit. So it's always been a complicated position because it's not just a cut and dry spot. It puts us in a hard spot to offer, I think, the 42.7, knowing that
42.5.
I'm sorry, 42.5, knowing that the previous position included everything, including that $9,000 of fees, basically would have. And I mean, if it's full-time, they would be eligible for the benefits and things. And how much of an expense do you anticipate, an additional expense, to get the new plans drawn?
Well, it'll be an ordinance update plus maps. Like I said, we're looking at least, I would say at least 40,000. By the time we're going to have to hire an outside firm to do this.
So the 40,000 then turns into almost 50,000 when the commissioners come and ask for the 9,000 that they need for the building inspections. So that turns into a good additional appropriation.
Okay, but one thing is, the zoning ordinance has nothing to do with the salary. It has to do with something that the county has to do anyway.
I understand. I'm just saying it as a
Okay.
lump sum addition.
Well,
Like, we're already looking at it at a higher
32
expense.
in there, right?
Pardon?
In your budget, I think there's 32.
33,150.
No, for the professional services,
Yes.
I believe it's 32,000.
32, but that brings in our lawyer and
They're at
something else
39.
also.
There's 7,000 in
Well, no, there was 32,
the general
I
fund.
believe, in the APC fund.
There
Yeah, I
is.
think
If I don't have it in front
There's
of me.
32 in APC and 7,000 in the general
That was
fund.
supposed to be for the lawyer, so you had 30.
the lawyer comes out a part of that, yes.
Out of the 7.
So
Yeah.
39 total.
Yeah.
I just have a question. At the joint meeting we had with the commissioners,
Mm-hmm.
it was my understanding that we were to come back and say, this is what we need. And then the commissioners said, we will get our own money. We will go to the council and we will ask for an appropriation for what we think we need for the building inspector. And when we came up with the 42.5 that we're suggesting now, it wasn't like, well, let's get this 42.7 number and work into it.
Well, we kind of did.
We tried to make it where it would be an entry-level position with what the market is demanding or is getting, with people starting it, we did a little bit of studying of what are people in this kind of role making in the industry, and it was in the low 40s, clear up to like 58,000. So we went to the very low end of it.
Well, I mean, when we talked the numbers, we talked about subtracting that 9,000 out, because, I mean, and out of the whole salary amount, and then I think someone brought in a comparable county, which was like low 30s, I believe. I think, so, I mean, so we kind of did talk about subtracting the 9 out. Yes, you guys were supposed to come to us with what you thought you needed, but that doesn't necessarily, I mean, unfortunately, we just can't say.
Oh, no, I'd
know.
come for $1 million if you just
Exactly.
didn't say yes.
I mean, like, it's kind of, everyone brings their wish list to us,
Right,
but it's a matter of
understand.
what we can appropriate and what we can do.
One of the comments that came up in our meeting was that the matron here at the courthouse makes $38,000, and we felt like the APC director ought to be worth at least that.
Considering about 3 zones in the county.
So,
Okay.
I've sworn nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to throw anything, we don't want to give any wrong information.
Yeah, I've got an actual book that shows comparable counties of salaries for 2023. And the Building Commissioner Zoning Administration for Brown County, which has a population of 36 people more than us, they make $35,137. Spencer, which is a slightly bigger county than us, but still in the same category, makes $33,900. Perry County makes $12.93 an hour. So it.
36.
What's that?
She makes 36.
She makes 36.
And you think that position makes 40 hours a week?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So with all the backlash,
With all the backlog, you say?
the backlash, something on behind the scenes stuff.
Oh.
I was on the document, paper trails, if not more.
There's a lot of paperwork behind the scenes. I mean, if I was sitting up here, I'd have that same, this is a 40-hour job, but the documentation work, the calls that come in, for somebody would want to bring something in this county, hey, what zone is this in? What are the setbacks? What variance would I need if I wanted to build a tower in this? There's a lot of question and answer to it.
Does this apply to the industrial park as well? So if the industrial park sees rapid growth or something, does that all go through APC as far as?
No.
Okay,
They're
so
kind of
that's-
their own entity. The only thing, if somebody wanted to put something in the tower, or let's say somebody wanted to build a tower, because this did happen, they wanted to, I think it's 45 feet is what the regulation is, they wanted to go above that, they would have to come to the Area Plan Commission and apply for a variance or a special exception. They would have to, tell us what they were wanting to do, we would have to give it a favorable or unfavorable, and then pass it to the BZA. Well, the executive director is the one that gets all this information, shares it with us, has all the paperwork, sets up the public hearing, and then works with the company to tell them whether they get their variance or not.
And the person who's in that role also, like when we did the wind and solar, they were the ones who were organizing all of those town halls. They were like the MC of that meeting. It was their job to keep order in that meeting and to make sure people didn't talk too long or things didn't get out of hand. We did that with a comprehensive plan too, and when we get into the zoning ordinance, that person will be responsible for doing all of that as well. So actually handling everything to do with those meetings, from booking the event space to putting together any materials that are handed out to being the MC and actually controlling that meeting.
A lot of secretarial work.
And like I said, we've not stopped. I mean, we went straight from the zone to the comprehensive plan. Now we're going to zoning. I mean, it's just one thing after another before everything caught on to what needs to be to this present day. But when you say the comprehensive plan was 23 years outdated?
1990.
22. It's 22 years old.
22 years outdated.
And they're supposed to be reviewed every 3 to 5. So it was done last year, so here in a couple of years, we're going to be doing it again, reviewing it again.
You got any extra money in your professional?
No.
You're spending all that now?
Yeah,
The-
the budget's pretty well.
That 32,000 won't cover even the 40,000 they need, so.
I was just thinking this person's probably smart enough to pull some of that lawyer work off. So if you could peel some of that back, that would help cost, bring it back up into there.
Where we're getting the 40,000 minimum, I'm gonna say minimum. Okay, that is from the two people that have come and talked with us. We're looking at a $40,000 minimum because they're the ones that would have to help rewrite this ordinance. Depending on, they take our ordinance now, our maps, mark them all up, come with us, meet about 4 or 5 different times, and update everything for us under municipal codes. So.
That was, it was 45,000, and that does not include the updating the maps.
The maps would be updated, yes, the maps would have been updated, we would just have to print them.
Over and above the
How long would that
45,000.
process take? I mean, you have the 32. that you-
12 to 18 months,
So I mean.
year to year and a half. So, yes, it could be, as we talked about, it could be paid some here and paid some there. Yes, that is a very good idea.
Previously, the previous person in that position had also taken on the recording secretary job,
Mhm.
which adds the 3,000 to the salary. Is
Yes.
that something you can combine into that director's position? So, like,
It could have been if we wouldn't have had to already, we had to already rehire a recording secretary.
okay.
I think the combination of 4 or however many jobs in the previous role has come back to cause a big issue. I think we're,
Right, there used to be 5 hats in this one
Yes.
position. We've cut it down to 3.
yeah, right, and I'm saying that the county saved money for many years and
Yes.
got what they got out of it, and now it's time to pay that bill.
If
Or,
this
or,
person
or
wouldn't
deal
have
with
been-
the the
Right.
aftermath of breaking that up, so.
Where the salary was for one person doing all that job was great. But when that one person left and it needs to be split apart, that's,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
where,
and
that's
we
when
could
you see
probably
the holes.
have conversation about, was every one of those 4 hats done to its full extent? I don't know, and, so now we're kind of looking at trying to repair all that. I would have never done that to start with back, X many years ago. I don't know
Yeah,
when
I
it was
mean,
done. I thought.
which hat are you wearing what day?
Well,
what
yeah, I
time?
know,
I don't-
there's problems with it.
I don't think we've ever had like one full-time position just for APC BZA.
Yeah.
I think it's always been like part-times, and then they put them together so they could offer someone more of a stable.
It just gets harder
Yeah.
to do as, the county wants to progress and move forward and
Yeah,
become
makes sense.
more advanced and build more things and attract more businesses and build more homes. But yet we're gonna stay in the 20-year-old idea of how we manage all that, and that's the problem.
It was my understanding that the county commissioners really kind of want more direct control of that building inspection role. And by Indiana code, the building inspector is under the responsibility of the commissioners, not the area plan commission. The executive director by code is under the APC, but the building inspector by Indiana code is under the commissioners.
I don't know. I don't know if necessarily they want control over it, because I think they were okay letting you pick somebody and do it at all.
Right.
But
the
I can see where
problem-
you say like the code says one thing and they agreed to that. They said that's fine. But I think originally they said if you want to hire someone to do it all again too, we're okay with that. But it just comes down to a budget, whether you keep this as the salary without the building inspections and do the additional appropriation for it, or if we lower this salary with taking out the effect that you're going to have to pay someone to do the building inspections.
Which the commissioners haven't brought that to our attention yet.
No, I don't know what costs are for that.
And of course, once that gets to the table here, it will be a must-do crisis that we'll have to.
We can't afford the table.
No, I'm not talking
sorry,
about you. I'm talking
yeah.
about when the building inspector salary comes here for an additional appropriation, our hands will be tied.
When they
and
left
they'll
the
say
meeting,
you have to do this
when
or
they
else.
left the joint meeting, I think they were assuming they had about the $9,000 to work with, which give or take the $50, we can find that somewhere to allocate it out of the budget out of some supply, I'm sure. But I think that was what the understanding was they were like looking at as a,
At these numbers.
yeah, like what we had in previous
And what
portion
you're
to it.
saying is local counties that have that or similar counties are in the different price range?
It's, yeah, there's a lot of counties that don't have anything listed for that position. Like when you go,
Several that don't even have zoning.
That's the reason why.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, like, this breaks it down between populations of 15,000 and 20,000, which we have 15,439, so we're at the bottom end of the scale. That's, let me go this way.
Oh, okay, if you feel that salary is way too high, I mean, we could let the building inspector do the permits and the county can take their chance on being sued. And, you know, we'll give up the $3,000 if you feel better about it that way. But I would highly, as a taxpayer of this county, I would be against that 100% because
I don't-
he writes a building permit for a bad space and the county gets sued.
Just like Lago County.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're asking for anything that's out of the world.
And we gotta make it look somewhat, I mean, you're not gonna get somebody off the street that's gonna have the knowledge and the know-how to get us where we need to be.
Yeah, we
So
would
that's
like
why
some.
we're asking for the additional, because we've gotta have somebody that's got knowledge of this area. Knowledge of how to get these, get this, get the ball rolling, where we need to, move forward to get all this stuff done for Wayne County.
We don't have the luxury of a learning curve.
No, no, we don't have time to train somebody, nor do we know how to train.
No.
We gotta have somebody that's.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, most of the area planning commissions here, and we know right now, we sit in a very bad spot. That's why we're trying to help ourselves so much. We're in a bad spot. We want this to look attractive to get somebody that can come in, hit the ground running, and take care of us.
I mean, I understand that desire and that need, but are you guaranteed to find someone with the experience you do need? I mean, because when I look, like...
Nothing's guaranteed,
You had
no.
asked about the other counties. The other counties were paying... Spencer has a population of almost 20,000. They're at 33.9, so about 34,000. And then Brown County, which is very comparable to ours, is 35,000. And then the other one that's offering $12.93 an hour full-time, that would be
26.
like 26.9, so just under 27,000.
Do we know if those positions included all of these facets that we've identified? Because some of them don't.
It doesn't give an actual like individual job detail. It just says building commission zoning administrator.
I can
So,
answer that.
okay.
Because I have to fill out that
The form?
So I had to do that for Vermillion County, and yes, it is.
It specifies certain
Yeah,
things and then you have to put it in.
I have to go through every year and click the boxes and mark the.
Does this Brown County include the same thing?
Yes, yes. If they click the same boxes as I do,
But
then
we
yes.
don't know if they do.
I would assume that they would, because there was no other place.
That's probably got a
to put that.
model you go through and click. Okay.
Yep, there was no
Okay.
other place to mark the box for that specific one.
So this is the only spot for that position. Okay, thank you.
So they're making what our janitor makes?
Yeah.
And the silence was death.
Hmm?
The silence was?
Deafening?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I just don't
We
think
understand,
anyone
this,
knows what
this
to
is
do.
a rock and a hard place.
Right. And so, and then we are too budget
Right,
wise.
I would hate to be sitting up here
We've
where
had
you
to
guys
trim
are.
and trim and trim.
Mm-hmm, understand, yeah, and money is tight everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and we understand that.
What's that?
I mean, it's not an easy situation for us, because we want to hire somebody that, you know, we think can come in and hit the ground running. You guys are, budgeting for the county. It's like two heads hitting each other.
I don't know why you couldn't.
We understand that.
But once all the zoning, everything's done, it's really just gonna come around on the backside. Just go reroll background, once all the zoning, everything's done, the comprehensive plan's finished, we'll move forward.
But a lot of that though, we're hiring out to get that completed, correct?
Ah.
We're hiring that out to get most of that completed?
We had a grant for the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And once we get a executive director, I would like them to look into see if we can get a grant to help with our zoning also. I mean, you know, that's something I don't have the time to do or the knowledge where to start. You know, that's something else we could put on this person to try and bring that cost down. Can we get a grant? Is there a grant money out there somewhere that could help us do these maps and this zoning ordinance? I don't know.
Have you guys discussed about raising the fees for the building permits?
The commissioners want to raise the price. Yes, I think we're gonna, if we keep the building permit writing them, I think we need to sit down with them and have a conversation, because ours are very low compared to everybody else.
Mhm.
So I think, yes, there should be a raise in that. I mean, yeah, the Area Plan Commission is not a big money maker. It's a money sucker. But it's a very valuable job.
Well, that could help offset some of the costs.
It can, yes, it can help. It can do that. And I think they need to be raised. But, you know, depending on who's going to be writing the permits and what everybody's comfortable with, I think not us alone should be setting that cost. I think the commissioners ought to have a say in that. Or the council, one or the other. Yeah. Because I think they're all for it.
One of the permit fees could cover the cost of the inspection completely, plus, I mean, again, it goes back to what would a private, knowledgeable individual who could physically do these inspections charge for driving to a house or whatever, you know, $300. I mean, what are the permits now? Are they flat fees, or is it based on certain
35,
things?
aren't they, Brenda?
I thought it was 65.
Oh,
I thought it was 65.
wait a minute. We just got one from Bob Spence. I said under your, did you get that?
If you sent it today, I haven't seen it.
No, I put it under your door last week.
Oh, I did not.
It was an envelope for you.
I did not get that.
Bob Spence had a building permit. It was $85 for something.
Okay. I bet Kylie got it and
Okay, yeah.
received
I put it back under your door
Yep.
because I knew it needed to
Yep,
go to
yep.
you. Okay.
Well, I agree with Neil. I think them should be included in that permit. Then building inspections, the cost should be included in the permit. I
For
think
the
I think
inspection.
you're right on
I mean,
that.
it's just a thought,
Yes, I think you're
and
right.
I'm just saying that 90, well, if it's not, if the inspection fee doesn't cover the cost of the inspection, then the taxpayers of the county are paying to have someone get an inspection.
Correct. Yeah, we're paying for it out of our pocket.
But it's to the county's advantage to have inspections done.
Right.
And it's the safety of the public to have inspections done. So I don't know what normal building inspection fees are, whether it's, you know, cheaper for a simple barn and more expensive for a complex house or a commercial building. I don't know. But usually there's a schedule of fees that maybe could be created that would, you know, like certain commercial inspections would require several trips, and the fee for that could be $1,000 or something for a commercial building, which a couple of those would cover.
We don't have anything to do with that, do we? With commercial buildings? That's not even.
Vermillion County Building Inspectors does not inspect commercial buildings.
Well,
in
we
Vermillion
had the
County.
jail.
No.
I think there's, now don't quote me on this because I'm trying to learn all this on my own. I think there's a state, something that the state has to permit, and then there's things that the county can't permit. There's a difference. But
If it's a commercial project.
because I believe,
They're at the school. They're gonna check it.
is that
No.
county? Or was that state?
If it's a commercial
County?
project, the
Okay.
state
It might be both.
inspects it.
It could be both, I don't know, but
No.
we definitely.
A commercial public access building or a private?
Well, I understood all commercial was done by the state.
Yeah, if the county's doing that school and doing the jail, we're not charging them near enough. We're not even in the ballpark for charging.
You don't get anything to do with that.
No, we should be charging a lot more for bigger things like that,
Well, I
because there's a
agree. I
lot of
think-
inspections.
You know, if it's a house, I think three's enough. I don't know why you need a fourth one, but figure what it's gonna cost for that, and that'd be the cost of your.
Yeah, a basic house,
Permit.
you probably have your foundation inspection.
Foundation,
Electrical,
mechanical.
plumbing, and finished product.
Finished product,
You
that's
should
all
have
you
four-
need.
About four
Three.
inspections.
Three.
Depends on
Footers?
if you got your foundation, okay?
That's one.
You got electrical and plumbing.
That's mechanicals
If they can
too.
get them done at the same time, that's great. And then
Well, they
a
can-
finished product could be 3 if you have your electrical and plumbing done.
We can
both.
definitely do that at the same time, before you cover it up.
Yeah, then you could have 3, yes.
Yeah. Definitely. So 3 times whatever it's gonna cost and fill it in the permit
Yeah.
for a
Hey,
house.
Well, that's the unknown right now, though.
If you could contract somebody to do it for $100, $50, $150, I don't know what it would cost for an inspection. I do.
Well, I need a part-time job.
And it depends on, what you're inspecting. Are you inspecting a pool? Are you inspecting a back deck? Or are you inspecting a house?
I'd like to see $50, $60 easily handled an inspection. I mean, you're just driving there and taking a look.
Yeah, I mean, it could be if it's a back deck on your, on your house, that's one inspection. If it's a pool, that's
Right.
one inspection. If it's a house, it could be 3, it could be 4. So,
But the permit fee would reflect the number of inspections
Yeah.
required and therefore the cost, so.
yeah, I think there should be there probably should be just a flat building permit fee and then a stagger for what you're building.
Have a tier process.
A tier process, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's quite what the commissioner's got in mind, but that's kind of what we kicked around, Brenda. Is it okay?
Well, I think that'd take care of that problem for the inspections.
Yeah, we need to cover that cost more.
So is there a recommendation to set a salary amount for the APC BZA position?
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that really. 2023,
And like, if this is considered a 40-hour job, which we're considering it right now, it breaks down to $20 an hour.
Yeah, that's
$20 and
pretty average.
40-some cents. Somebody with experience, or can you even get that for $20?
no, I'm fine with it. If we can afford it.
So your intention is to hire someone with the experience then to be able to walk right in?
That would be our preference, yes.
Okay.
That is our preference. Will we
And
find
if you
that?
don't, you're gonna pay them less to train them, or how are you gonna, if you don't get what you want, are you gonna pay someone less until they get the skills, or how you gonna?
I would say, if that's a recommendation that comes from the council, I think we could accept that. Yes, I mean, we're looking at we're wanting to pay somebody with experience, somebody who can come in and do the job, this amount of money. If we have to hire somebody that has no experience, and we have to walk hand in hand, should they make that much? Probably not.
They shouldn't.
There is, on the salary ordinance, the commissioners have asked in previous years that there's a $3,000 reduction in salary based off of the salary ordinance amount until that person is able to fully fulfill their duties. So if someone comes in and they're able to fulfill it, they'll meet those requirements almost, maybe after, I think it's the first paycheck. The first paycheck. And then after that, you as a APC committee can say, yes, they're able to handle their job. We don't have to babysit them. But there is that stipulation that if they can't handle their job and they're still in training and still learning, it has to be at least $3,000 less
Okay,
For how long?
let me make sure you're.
until they're able to complete
So
the job duties.
Whatever salary we set here tonight, they would start out 3,000 less than that?
At least for their first paycheck until they're acquired and
For
taking
the
control
first
of the office.
paycheck, 2 weeks, is that 2 weeks a month or 90 days?
2 weeks.
A 2 week, so you got a 2 week process.
Now,
in
if that person
there.
requires
Okay.
additional training and things, it would be longer
no
than
experience,
the 2.
What would their salary be though for those 2 weeks?
It would be whatever we set it
3,000
minus the
less.
3,000 divided by the number of pay periods.
Okay.
26 pay
All right, I just
periods.
wanted to make sure I understood. Okay, so if we set 40,000 or 42.5, what we're asking for, we would go 3,000 below that for 2 weeks.
39.5.
Mhm.
Okay.
But that could go,
Granted-
so that 3,000 less could go
And it could
for-
go
It
longer.
can go longer.
It will go until we say this person is trained to our specification.
Correct.
Okay.
There's several certifications I think you have to have too.
For that
So
position.
You might take that in consideration. Get this one, then you get a little bit more, get this
There you
certification, get a little bit more.
And that could be done. And even if you feel like if they don't have any certifications, 3,000 is the minimum amount. The salary ordinance is the maximum amount you can pay somebody. So if you hire somebody that has no experience whatsoever and nobody else applies, you may look at a lot lower. That way you can stagger and say, hey, you get this, you get this. You can have a benefit for getting
Reward
those.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Yeah,
that.
you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Or you get what you know.
Okay.
What you earn.
Yeah.
We don't have the actual salary ordinance this evening we don't have the account set up separated either. So the best we could give you is if we created a motion to ask for this for the salary ordinance to be updated to reflect that.
How long would it take to get?
I mean, we can, if we do a motion and it passes, then you can have that assurance that that's what we're going to put in the salary ordinance.
Okay.
The actual salary ordinance then would have to be updated. Okay, like that.
Yeah.
That okay. That's the only way I can give you an assurance that it has been approved for you to be able to go.
Because
move
we
forward.
want to advertise.
If not, I'd have to wait till April meeting to actually update the actual document.
Okay.
So.
Well,
You're basically getting a verbal agreement that has been voted on versus a paper document that's
Okay.
been voted on.
Yeah, as long as we have a working idea of what we're gonna get, then we
Okay.
can go ahead and post this job. And if somebody says, well, what does it pay? We don't look like fools saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Are we like looking at setting a salary? They want 42.
Yeah.
The average is 33, kind of coming in the middle somewhere, or you just want to go 42?
That's what we need to decide, what you guys wanted to do, setting the top max salary at that they can offer somebody.
I'd like to see them at least start at what that average is, 32, whatever it was.
They were 34 and 35 for counties our size
Okay,
and that.
well, 35 then, and 3 more.
38 total.
38 would be the high. 38 would be the halfway in between what they're asking for and what the 33 would be.
Well, if we did that, we could go, I mean, we could take 38 for the executive director, drop the other 2 off. You know, and let the building inspector keep the building permits if you want to do that.
I was just talking about for that top one,
Well,
the director.
I mean, if you're more comfortable, you know, if you want to take money away,
I don't think it's necessarily taking it away. It's just that saying that position's worth, like the whole, I don't see dropping any requirements off your sheet because those requirements probably do need to stay together as one person. So it's a matter of budget-wise until we know too that building inspection can be covered by permits. We've got to budget that into that whole. I mean, even at 35, we're still looking at hopefully some increase in permits to cover the building inspection. See what I'm seeing out from the budget standpoint? Like we've got our money that we can deal with.
Who would do that, the commissioners, or?
Commissioners are doing the building inspection side.
Okay, so they would handle the.
Mm-hmm. And they
cost.
haven't given us any idea of cost yet on that.
Are they thinking about raising them up?
I think she had mentioned that they were considering it.
There's no guarantees they're going to, but they need to. If we're
Right.
gonna do something like this.
I think last year, the income from building inspections was somewhere around 13,000, 12 to 13,000.
You're correct.
And the salary for building inspection was 95. So where they are, I mean, it's gonna cover, but like for section cornerstones, I get $10 from every deed that's recorded. Could you not split a building inspecting fee up, so much goes to handling the permits and so much goes to cover the inspection cost?
Well, I mean, realistically, building inspection fees go back in the general fund, and the general fund was already funding APC, so it kind of was already being split out towards APC. I mean, in a way. Because APC is one that I think they only generate maybe 12,000 a year, somewhere 12, 13. So it's about the same. So realistically, we're still funding APC a lot more than we are anything else, like in that description.
Is that fund set up specifically for that? Couldn't we just flip-flop it, make it easier? Instead of having the APC fund be the APC, couldn't we use that $12,000 or $13,000 for building inspections and put the entire budget into the 1,000?
It's not an actual building inspection fund. It goes just general. So that, because general's being paid out of, building inspection's being paid out of general. It's not a separate,
income.
Yes.
0052 fund,
0052, I don't have that one.
the APC fund.
Oh.
That's the $12,000 and $13,000 that he's talking about.
Oh, that's zero, I see
Those
those.
are the building permits.
Those are the building permits? That's what,
Right.
building
Did that
permits
go to
is
pay
already
your-
paying for APC.
I'm thinking, to me, it.
Pay your
it
building
always seems
inspector with
backwards,
that.
But
Right.
I could be all wet here. You see what I'm saying?
So there's 12, 13 total, not each.
Each year, that's it, that's all that's in there. Well, I mean, a yearly approximate.
Really, area planning commission generates $0.
Exactly.
That didn't make it sound better.
I'll tell you what, you're making me feel bad up here, guys. I feel like I'm asking for my allowance.
But you see what I'm saying, is that if the permits are going into this fund, and they're calling it APCBZA.
Right.
Why not make that building inspection fund? Let that pay for your building inspector. Yeah. Great minds think alike, you're in trouble.
But it's still the same total amount total between the two
Right.
funds.
It is
So we
still
still
the-
take that total amount we have on paper right now and still divide it out.
It is, you're correct.
So it's not necessarily getting more money, because we're already still spending it.
Correct.
We're still asking for a lot of money.
A better bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping wise, however works easier for you. I'm good with that.
Yeah, we would, and that's
But-
something else. Once we get this all figured out, we would like to have a couple people from the team come in, sit down with Brenda and just, or have her come to our meeting.
Oh, it's very important for whoever's in your position to understand the budget and how
Oh.
it works, because government accounting isn't quite like just regular accounting where you just spend out of your
Correct.
checking account.
I mean-
It has to be appropriated and then you can spend it, and so
Right.
there is a lot to it, so that would be much appreciated to have your new hire come sit down and understand that aspect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the new hire person, and I think at least 2 or 3 members from our team also could sit down with Brenda, maybe even a council member, and just say,
Mhm.
okay, make it simple.
Yeah.
So we can understand it.
We like simple.
To do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I appreciate everything you have done, Brenda.
So.
She has worked very hard with us and give us a lot of good information. She has done a great
So
job.
assuming all of these job duties stay together, is there a recommendation for a salary amount? Like the maximum amount, not necessarily the starting amount that they would make if they needed the training?
Personally, I'm okay with this for the maximum. I'd like to see the starting 3,000 less on the director.
All right, so can I take that as a motion then, Kelly?
Yes.
All right, is there a second to Kelly's recommendation?
I mean, it's a critical position.
So it's not this top number, though, it's how did
It's-
you get?
it would be the
between you get
42,500.
42, okay,
Yeah.
So
And starting at 3,000 less until we said,
at least the 3,000
At
less,
least
depending on
3,000.
how you feel their requirements are.
Okay.
I mean, you can offer them 35 if they have 0, and then say, okay, if you get this, bump it up
okay.
until you feel that they're capable of
So
running the
42.5
office.
would be the max that they would ever make. We could start them at 30 if we felt.
Correct.
They had no experience in it, we
Yeah.
could work them
And
up
we would
slowly.
highly suggest that, just because that way it leaves you some room for bargaining to make sure they get
Well,
their requirements.
Please raise rooms too.
So.
Yeah, understand that.
Okay. All right, is there a second? Sorry, we should have.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further questions? All right, I have a motion from Mr. Somerville, a second from Mr. Costello, to make the recommendation to set the proposal from the Area Plan Commission for their executive director position, building permit administrator, and floodplain administrator at a top tier salary of $42,500. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state no. Okay, motion is approved.
Oh, I got one question. In the motion that you just approved,
Uh-huh.
should you put starting out at least 3,000 less? Should that?
Automatically will be on the salary
That's
ordinance.
automatic? Okay.
Mhm, it's on
Thank you.
everybody's.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you very much,
Thank
guys.
you.
Sorry it took so
Somebody
long.
needs to work over the billing on these permits.
Pardon?
Somebody needs to take care of that.
Yeah, that.
Changes billing.
We have a lot more steps we have to
Okay.
go.
Who's doing
And
the
try to recoup that
inspections
money.
now?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Just out of curiosity, who's doing the inspections now?
I'm not sure.
Tim is,
Tim. And what, you know,
So if we don't additionally appropriate any for that, Tim has to do it for us.
I bet he comes to see it sooner than later.
Just asking for a
There you
friend.
go.
if it's something that the council thinks that the commissioners would have a better handle on at setting the fees for the building permits, that's fine with us. We'll issue them. If they, you know, since they're the ones that are taking care of the physical responsibility of the inspections, they can set the amount, and we'll take care of the permits and take care of the
I think
paperwork.
that process, just for information, that process has worked for other counties
Correct.
on things such as right-of-way permits. So not building permit, I'm talking about something totally different. Like counties didn't have inspectors to go out and inspect work that was being done in the right-of-way, like drive entrances, telephone poles, contractors who have to cut the road. No one had it, so some counties hired permit inspectors for those types of permits, and the cost of those permits covers the salary of that person and then some.
Right. So if they-
without being outrageous, and because taxpayers were always on the hook for these poorly done jobs out in the right-of-way that the county highways had to go make amends to later, so it worked out, so.
Okay. Yeah, and the commissioners may have a better idea of what they're sending out there, so they may have a better idea of setting a permit fee. And, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna be good with whatever they wanna set,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you, everyone. All right, that is the end of our new business. Is there any public comment this evening? All right, with no public comment, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.